and New York Mills when we come back to the Copperfield House.
Where does that really come from? Is it the fact that the guys are close off the court, or is it their chemistry on the court? What do you think it's been?
Well, both. I think they get along off the court. Jeff Stout's a tremendous leader. He and Nate Tweeten are good friends, and so the Cox boys are really easy to get along with. Our kids off the bench have all seemed to accept their roles, and so everything's just kind of falling into place this year.
When you look at this team, what do you guys have to do now to get past New York Mills?
Well, we have to play well. We know that we have to rebound. Defensive rebound especially, we need to carve out and limit second shots. We need to create space on the weak side. I think attacking their 2-3 zone, getting in the gaps, getting the ball into the high post, that'll be critical. And then we need to value the ball. I thought we were a little bit sloppy on Saturday night. We need to limit our turnovers to 10 or fewer if we can.
All right, Coach, thank you very much. Good luck coming up. We'll talk to you later on.
Thank you much.
Steve and Steve, back to you guys.
Well, before we completely close the book on our first semifinal, we want to tell you that we've got a real treat coming up for you at halftime of this next game. You know Ron Orton is a pretty good basketball coach. You know the basketball's been on his mind lately, but he's had some other things on his mind as well. He got married 9 days ago. During tournament time, he said it was only fitting considering how he and his wife met. It's a great story. We hope you'll be able to stay with us at halftime of our game between Hawley and New York Mills. We'll tell you that story. We'll visit with Ron and his wife, Michelle. You won't want to miss that. We're about 8 minutes away from our second semifinal. Hawley taking on New York Mills. Come back. Player of the Game award. And speaking of which, Eric Woodman is standing by with our player of the game from the first contest, Kevin Hanks. Eric.
Thank you, Steve. Yes, I'm here with Kevin Hanks, our Wells Fargo player of the game. 21 points, 12 rebounds, an outstanding performance. Kevin, just talk to me a little bit about your game. You knew you coming in here that you had to step up, and you really did, didn't you?
Yeah, I pretty much took it upon myself during the pregame warm-ups to lead the team and do whatever it took to get done to win this game.
At halftime, what did the coach tell you guys? You were up by 15 points. You knew I mean, were you a little bit concerned about pressing a little bit or getting a little bit too comfortable? What did he say to you guys?
They just simply told us to come out with the same intensity that we begun the game with, and we'd take it from there.
You guys basically come out and you get the win. Barnesville beat you guys here for the championship 2 years ago. Was that sitting in your mind coming into this game?
I don't know about the other players, but it was in my mind. It was in Coach Oren's mind. I know that. So,
what did you say to your younger guys who may not have been on the team when they beat you guys? What did you say to them about this game?
I just said there'll be TV cameras out there watching you, so just don't make too many mistakes and have fun.
How does it feel? I know it's kind of a silly question, but how does it feel to get on to the final round now?
Just like a regular season game. Just that we just won.
Coming up next, you got either Hawley or New York Mills. Is there any preference on who you'd rather face?
No, not tonight. It doesn't matter.
What was the goal coming into this season for you guys? Was it getting it to this point, or was it going all the way to the state? What was really the first goal?
It was going all the way to the state, and then our second goal was win 20 games. So we done half of that. We're about to do half of that. So.
All right, congratulations, Kevin. Thank you very much. Good luck in the next round. Steve and Steve, back to you guys.
Thanks very much, Eric. There is some history, Steve, between these two teams, and you know that the New York Mills Eagles would love another shot at Hawley. Hawley beat New York Mills 65-58 in overtime early in the season at New York Mills, but Steve Pash will be quick to point out that they missed a 1-and-1 free throw opportunity with 4 seconds left in regulation that would have given them the win. So he says, we're expecting New York Mills to come at us with both barrels tonight, and they've got the weapons to really do the damage.
Yeah, I think New York Mills is thinking some payback, and my memory serves me right. Somebody told me that Corey Peters wasn't playing for New York Mills that game. You might be able to enlighten me there.
Corey Peters missed 4 games in the middle part of the season. I'm not sure if it was those games, to be honest with you, but he missed 4 games with a stress fracture in his hip, kind of one of those weird injuries, but that was bad at the time. They lost 3 of those 4 games, but Dave Pavlis says the good news is that we had a guy step forward by the name of Mike Aker who got some playing time, and you had mentioned to me earlier that he played a very good game Saturday, and he's developed into one of those role players that can really give Coach Pavlis some good minutes.
Yeah, Mike Aker's a 5'10 sophomore guard, number 13, and he just kind of looks like a basketball player if you see him out on the court. He filled in. He played like 20 minutes or so Saturday, and I thought he filled in real nicely. He's got a nice shot. He can handle the ball, and he just seems to be a basketball player.
Well, let's take a look at the numbers and how the matchup, the tail of the tape, if you will, between these two teams. And you've got one team in Hawley that scores a pretty good average, 60 points a game. New York Mills counters with 45. And free throw percentage is something that Steve Pashy said, you know, I wasn't sure how we were going to be at the charity stripe this year, but I've been pleasantly surprised. With Hawley, we talked about it before, you've got a lot of guys with a lot of offensive ability. Steve Pashy says our Achilles heel sometime has been that rebounding and defensive effort when we've needed it.
Yeah, Hawley, I guess you would call Hawley a running team. They like to get up and down as opposed to the slow them up game, and I know New York Mills is going to want to slow the game down.
One thing to keep an eye on as the starting lineups are introduced, which we will do here in just a couple of minutes. The Hawley Nuggets will throw a little souvenir basketball to the fan base, and I talked to Steve Pashy about that. I said, is there any story behind that? He says, well, not really a story, but he says, we really believe that being involved in our community is a very important thing. He says the younger kids in our elementary school and junior high programs really look up to our varsity players. So we do things like throw a little basketball into the stands to acknowledge how much we appreciate that crowd and that fan support. Says the guys go to the elementary schools and do things with the younger kids, do basketball clinics on a Saturday morning. And because of that, you see how many people come out to watch the Hawley basketball games. And it's always a full house in the Nugget gym when Coach Steve Pashy's team is playing, and that is so important, especially in the communities like Hawley, places like New York Mills, to feel like the fans and the team are well connected.
You bet. And another thing that does is it gets the young kids interested in basketball, and you know, it continues on in building the program, the overall view of the program. I think Coach Pashy's done a real nice job where Coach Critchley, my coach when I played there, left off.
Well, the New York Mills Eagles have got some very good wins to their credit. They won at Barnesville, the second game of the year, beat the Trojans by 13 points. But Dave Pavlis says we still need to work on the killer instinct. We've had teams down in the fourth quarter. We just can't seem to put them away, and we let them hang on and stay in the game with us. So he's looking for some improvement there. We're just about ready to meet the starters here from Concordia College. Nice to have you with us. And in a couple minutes, we'll be taking a look at our Gross Studio keys to the game. But right now, it's time to meet the principals. The students are the principals in this case tonight. Let's send it over to public address announcer Derek Satter to meet the starting lineups.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'd ask now if you direct your attention courtside. The students and faculty of Concordia College proudly welcome you to Concordia's Memorial Auditorium for the quarterfinal round of the 2001 Minnesota Section 6A Boys Basketball Tournament. Tonight's second quarterfinal game has the designated visitors on the scoreboard, the New York Mills Eagles, against the designated home team on the scoreboard, the Hawley Nuggets. Let's begin this evening by meeting the starting lineups for both teams, beginning with the New York Mills Eagles. Starting at one guard, a 5'10 senior, number 11, Jason Skid. At the other guard, a 5'9 senior, number 15, Kurt Musu. At one forward, a 6'4 senior, number 31, Corey Peters. At the other forward, a 6'3 junior, number 41, Mike Peters. And at center for the Eagles, a 6'3 senior, number 43, J.J. Weller. The Eagles are coached by Dave Pavola, assisted by Chris Bushinger and Tim Aker. Now let's meet the starting lineup for the home team on the scoreboard, the Hawley Nuggets. Starting at one guard, a 6-foot senior, number 4, Jess Dow. At the other guard, a 6-foot sophomore, number 14, Ted Cox. At one forward, a 6'3" junior, number 24, Rob Cox. At the other forward, a 6-foot senior, number 52, Nate Tweeter. And at center for the Nuggets, a 6'5" senior, number 50, Andy Cox. Nuggets are coached by Steve Paschke, assisted by John Heinrichs and Marlon Keller.
And so we're ready for our second semifinal. The Nuggets taking on New York Mills. Your Maricare Sports Medicine starting lineups. For Hawley, Rob Cox and Ted Cox in the backcourt, along with Jess Stout, Nate Tweeten, and Andy Cox man the frontline positions. For New York Mills, it's Jason Schick, Mike Aker, Jason Schick, Kurt Mersu, J.J. Weller, and the brothers Peters, Corey and Mike Peters. Corey a year older than brother Mike. Our referee, our officials, Craig Samuelson and Chuck Everett. And the New York Mills Eagles will get the first opportunity here in our second semifinal game. Thanks for making us a part of your Monday night. The quick shot put up by Corey Peters. Knocked away, and Nate Tweeten hustles after the rebound. The Hawley Nuggets came bolting out of the gate, scoring 10 of the first 11 points of the game Saturday afternoon against Lake Park Audubon. At that point, LPA tightened it up a little bit and made it a good game down the stretch. Inside, J.J. Weller scores his first 2 points of the game. The 1,000-point scorer tallies early for the Eagles.
That's got to be a concern of Coach Paschke's right there, is the inside game of New York Mills.
Rob Cox looking inside for brother Andy. This is kind of a broadcaster's nightmare, to be honest with you, this game. You've got 3 Cox brothers starting, 2 Peters brothers starting on the other side. This is Corey Peters, and that's 2.
Surprised to see New York Mills getting up and down the court in the fashion that they are with a team that only scores 45 points a game. That was a real nice fast break.
With Waubun and Barnesville and Hawley, you had some of the usual suspects here for primetime tourney. But the New York Mills Eagles are the exception, but they're not looking jittery at all here in the first minute and a half.
No, they're calm and cool, and I like the way they're walking the ball up the court, playing their style of game here.
Jason Schick fires for 3, no good. Weller looking for the rebound. Batted out of bounds, and it'll remain New York Mills basketball. J.J. Weller is a 1,000-point scorer, and he needs 13 rebounds to become a 1,000 rebound player for Dave Pavla. Too high for Corey Peters, and Andy Cox collects. Brother Rob, this is Jess Stout. Steve Paschke says Stout is our most improved player, a guy who gives everything he's got and has made the most of the talent that he's been given. Nate Tweeten spins, drop step, nifty reverse layup. How about the English off the backboard for Nate Tweeten? And the Nuggets are on the board.
Nate Tweeten's a real savvy offensive player. He can score from a lot of different angles and inside and out, and he just showed it there.
Corey Peterson floats in, but the ball kicks out, and now Jess Stout will bring it up for the Nuggets.
Getting back to Stout. Stout, I know Paschke uses him as his defensive stopper.
Nate Tweeten looking for the 3. You don't think of him as a great 3-point shooter, but Steve Paschke says he's our best long-range threat. A little uncommon for a 6-foot senior that goes about 225 pounds. This is Mersu now on top to Schick. Corey Peters, baseline look again, won't go. And Rob Cox corrals the rebound. Rob Cox had a great game on Saturday against Lake Park Audubon. He had 7 assists, 3 steals, and 5 assists. His brother Andy is on the board, and we're knotted at 4. Inside again looking for Weller. Schick will take the 3. That won't go. Andy Cox active on the boards.
Nice defense by Hawley. They're really reacting and sagging in on those big guys when the ball goes inside.
Just out to the rack, and it goes. There didn't look like much room from what we could tell, but Just Out didn't need a lot of room. Off the glass for 2 and the foul.
You see, he weaves by 1 defender and then finishes strong and draws the foul.
The foul goes on Corey Peters, his first foul, the first foul of the game for that matter. And just out to the line, completing the three-point play. And for the Eagles now, Corey Porkinen, the 6'6" junior center, averaging 5 points a game. And Dave Pavola says that he's a great finesse player. Needs a little more ornery in him at times, but he's a pretty good player inside of 6 feet when he's got the basketball. Schick drives, wheels, now shoots and scores.
Schick shows his value there to the team. He's a good ball handler, but he can also penetrate and shoot off balance. Nice little play.
Stout unguarded, lets it go. It won't fall, but Weller collects the board. Every player on the starting roster for New York Mills has been a 3-year starter except for Kurt Mersu. And it's those years sometimes, Steve, when things don't go well for you, they set you up for the great season when they're seniors, and that's what's happening for these guys.
You betcha. There, again, that's got to be a concern of Coach Passey's. They go right inside with the 6'6" substitute off the bench, Corey Porkinen. And I'll tell you what, I know Coach Passey doesn't want that to happen too often, especially to his premier player, Andy Cox.
First free throw up and good. Second on the way as well, and that's good. Corey Porkinen 2 of 2 from the line, and that's now 7 apiece. With 4:09 to play. Excuse me, he was 1 of 2 from the free throw line. Stout wheels inside, not much room, and it's batted away. Somehow it gets to Ted Cox, inside to brother Andy, and it's going the other way. Offensive foul called. That's 2 quickies on Andy Cox, and that's bad news for Hawley.
And now I think Chuck Everett had his hand behind his head, indicating the charge, but then he went over to the bench, to the scorer's table, and called it on 31, Corey Peters.
Well, I beg your pardon. That's a different situation.
I was kind of with you on that one, Steve. I was thinking charge also. He did lower his shoulder a little and take it pretty aggressively into Peters' chest. I think Coach Passey's breathing a sigh of relief there. He didn't want Andy Cox to have 2 falls this early in the game.
Well, what a big turn of events that was. It's a 3-point Hawley lead. The State Bank of Hawley scoreboard has a 10-7 with 3:57 to go.
They have got to limit their offensive rebounds. Secondly, attack the zone defense. And thirdly, value the basketball. Don't give it up. On to New York Mills. They need to shoot the ball well from outside. Secondly, get the rebounds. And thirdly, limit their turnovers. Back to you, Steve and Steve.
Thank you very much, Eric. Thank you to our friends at Grow Studio for being the proud sponsor of our Keys to the Game feature here in our Section 6A West tournament. We've got 3:57 to play in the first quarter, and Hawley has an early 10-7 lead over New York Mills. Steve, you talked a minute ago about that big turn of events before we went to break.
You bet. The fall looked like it was on Andy Cox, who's an important player for Hawley. Would have been his second early in the first quarter. Turns out that Chuck Everett called the foul on Corey Peters, who is one of the main players for New York Mills, and now he's on the bench with 2 fouls. So a big change of events there.
New York Mills going to a 2-3 zone, matching up on the perimeter players. Nate Tweeten, a long shot. It's good. It is a 3. Feet behind the line. Nate Tweeten shows his range, and it's now a 13-7 Hawley lead.
There's Nate Tweeten again showing his versatility inside and outside. There was a nice corner jumper.
Corey Porkinen from 15 feet. That rattles around. Well, his coach wasn't kidding. He's got a nice touch on those long shots. He's got 3 early points. 4 different Eagles on the board for New York Mills. It's 13-9 Hawley.
I'll be impressed with New York Mills playing a quicker style of basketball than they're used to right now up and down the court.
Andy Cox's short baseline jumper. Herons off the side of the backboard. Jason Schickel set it up for the Eagles. Good defense by Jess Stout and good denial by Andy Cox. Nice defensive possession that time for Steve Hashey's team. Cox steps to the baseline, wheels inside, off balance, takes a tumble. But it doesn't hurt his bat, Steve, when the ball goes in the hoop. He's now got 6 points, and it's 15-9.
That's a real good take, and I think New York Mills defensively, they're sitting back pretty complacent in that zone. They need to get a little more active, something like Wobbin was doing in the first game.
Corey Porkinen getting hot. He's now got 5. 15-11 Hawley. A nice story is Corey Porkinen. He has battled through a lot of adversity this year. His father passed away of cancer this past fall. It was diagnosed, but too late. The doctor said he just had a short time left. And for a while, Dave Pavla says it was hard for him to focus on the things of basketball, and you can certainly understand. But he's come back and says now that his season is a tribute to his dad. Nice to see him get off to a quick start here tonight. The ball turned over, and it'll be New York Mills basketball. 1:42 to play now in the first quarter. It's 15-11 Hawley. This is Mike Akers at the top, giving Jason Schick a breather. Inside, Weller, ball fake, goes up, gets Nate Tweeten in the air, and it goes.
I know one thing. I know Nate Tweeten needs to front that flash. You see J.J. Weller flashing across from the low back block across the lane, and Tweeten followed him. When you got a big inside player like J.J. Weller, you don't want to be following him across the lane. He's going to make you pay for it. He's got a nice touch at the free throw line, too.
Yeah, he's just a 52% free throw shooter on the year, which surprises you because he looks so comfortable from the line. Excuse me, he's a set. Oh, wrong guy, Steve. What can I tell you? That's going to happen once in a while. 77% free throw shooter. And the Weller family, you can quit calling WDAY Studios. We've corrected the mistake. We promise we'll talk really nice about him shooting free throws from now on. It's 15-14 now, and Nate Tweeten again looks for the long-range jumper. Andy Cox crashes in. Dave Pavlo wants the foul. Steve Pashy says great fundamental basketball. And it's a three-point lead now for Hawley.
You see Hawley's in an extended 1-3-1 zone. They switched up from their man-to-man.
Batted away, Parkinen controls, puts up the 10-footer off balance. Tip back outside, a scramble over on the hash mark.
And Coach Pashy needs to, or I bet he definitely appreciates that hustle by Rob Cox, laying his body out after the loose ball. Looks like he might have hurt his elbow on that play.
Steve Pashy, Natalie clad tonight, looking sharp with that suit and the tie. His team has had a lot of success here. They are the defending section champions in 6A.
New York Mills is trying to respond to the zone defense by Hawley.
Parkinen goes over the back on Brady Baxter, recently checked into the game. It looked pretty clean on top. The referee or the official says there was some contact down low, and Parkinen will pick up the foul.
I think that was a strong box out by Brady Baxter. I might be a little biased, though. He's my nephew.
Well, we'll have to watch you now on your comments for this.
It's a fine-looking ball player.
You saw the replay there. You taught him everything he knows, didn't you?
Absolutely.
Under 5 seconds to play now. Stout looking for an opportunity. It'll go inside to Andy Cox, and a foul will be called on Kurt Mersu. The fourth team foul on New York Mills. His first personal foul.
You can tell New York Mills is keeping an eye wherever Andy Cox goes.
2 seconds to play. A quick shot put up by Andy Cox. Tipped away. Nice defense by Mike Aker. The 5'10 sophomore guard alters the shot. We've got a pretty good pace to our first quarter of the second semifinal game. After 8 minutes of play, the State Bank of Hawley scoreboard says Hawley 17, New York Mills. At the conclusion of our second quarter, the Wells Fargo halftime report. Hope you'll be able to stay with us for that. The story of true love in the basketball gym. Ron Orn and his wife, Michelle. We're going to have a lot of fun with that. Hope you'll be able to stay with us. We've got a lot of fun here left between the two teams, Hawley and New York Mills. 17-14, Hawley leads after 1 quarter. And Steve, we're on a pretty good pace right now, and probably a pace that suits the Nuggets a little more than what the New York Mills history tells us.
Yes, it would. It would cater to the Hawley's game plan a little bit more than New York Mills, but New York Mills is showing that they can handle getting up and down the court so far, and one thing to their advantage, they do have a deep bench, so.
They've got a lot of offensive talent. It is somewhat surprising that they come in only averaging 45 points a game. They play in a tough Park Region Conference. The likes of Pine River, a very good AA team. Bertha's also in that conference. They finished 3rd in that Park Region Conference this year.
Hawley sticking with that 1-3-1 zone. They've played it quite a bit this year.
Turnover, giving it back to New York Mills, and so now Jason Schick will set it up from the top, working on the Rob Cox defense, and Cox gets an arm up there and bats away the offensive attempt. Stout quickly to the lane, stumbles, and a foul will be called. Craig Samuelson with the call. And I believe Kurt Mersu will be cited for the foul. That's the 5th team foul, the 2nd on Mersu. Baxter running the offense from the top. Wheaton turns around, lets go, an off-balance 15-footer. Didn't look off balance when it got to the basket. The nice fadeaway by Nate Tweeten is good. It's 19-14. Ball batted away. It'll stay White basketball. Ted Cox now back in the game for Brady Baxter. Ted Cox is the youngest of the 3 brothers, a sophomore, and then Rob is a junior. Andy is a senior. Steve Paschke says we put Ted Cox in, just tried to play him for about a minute or so, and he played so well we couldn't hardly take him out of the basketball game. And as the season went on, he got better. Made his first start against New York Mills, in fact, scored 20 points. Steve Paschke says, then I knew we had a little something.
It's a nice way to break into the lineup. What Schick did there on that offensive series is exactly what New York Mills needs to do against this zone. They need to attack it. Anytime a team is sitting back in a zone, you need to attack it and make them make a move, whether it's collapsing on the ball or not reacting to the penetration.
64% free throw shooter, a little unorthodox. He brings it up real high when he has the release, but he makes them a lot more than he misses them, and he made those 2 there. Very effective, and his 2 points now pulls the Eagles within 3. On paper, both of our games figured to be close contests. The first one was a little bit lopsided for a while. The Trojans then got it close, but Steve, this one figures to be one of those dandies that should entertain us for all 4 quarters.
I think it's got the makings.
Nate Tweeten for 2 on the other end. It's a 3 by Mike Aker.
I like how New York Mills is extending that 2-3 zone way up, even past the perimeter of the 3-point area, keeping track of the outside shooting for Hawley. Nice job by New York Mills defensively.
They play that 2-3 zone, which works well for them because their post players move so well. They can get on top of the offensive player, front those inbounds passes. Andy Cox, it's tough to find defense for that.
You bet.
Wheels inside and scores.
That was a nice move by Andy Cox.
He now has 10, and it's back to a 4-point lead. Peters inside. Weller gets position, goes up, some contact. The clean block, they say. The second attempt will result in free throws.
You see the strength of Weller there, holding Cox off with one arm and receiving the pass in with the other one. He's a nice post player.
Those of us who are guards in our careers, we love those post players who shield the defensive player and give you a nice alley to throw that ball into.
You bet. I can see why he's got 1,000 points with holding his position strong like that. What's even more impressive is the guy's got almost 1,000 rebounds like you mentioned earlier.
Dave Pavlis said he's about the nicest kid you'll ever want to meet. In fact, sometimes he says he's too nice. We need to light a fire under him once in a while or stick a few tacks in his shoes or something. But that was not a comfortable trip to the line. J.J. Weller missing both with 5:18 to play in the second quarter. Now it's 23-19 Hawley with a chance to add to the lead. Tweeten wheels inside, now finds Ted Cox on the weak side. Put it up amongst the trees and it didn't go.
Real nice pass by Nate Tweeten there to find the open man underneath.
Mike Peters forces one up, good defense inside. Cox holding his ground. And now Tweeten will set it up on the right wing. This is Andy Cox. The high arcing jumper doesn't go, tipped out of bounds, and one official says it goes to the left, the other says to the right. And we'll have a little conference. And now Chuck Everett says, you know, let's just have a jump ball, and the alternating possession gives it to New York Mills. And now a timeout will be taken on the floor, a 20-second timeout taken by the Eagle coaching staff. Dave Pavlis says, I knew we had something special, not the first day of practice, not the last day of last season, but the first day of our summer workout program. He said, we played on a Wednesday night traveling league, and almost every guy on our team showed up. He said, that kind of commitment right there showed me that these guys really wanted to make something happen. They were 10-13 last year, but learned from those mistakes, and they put together a very nice 15-8 season. Says one of the biggest surprises is how well we've shot our perimeter shots this year. He said we knew we'd have some good inside presence, but we weren't real sure how the guys would do behind the arc, and they've shot very well from three-point land, making 28% of their three-point field goals. Corey Peterson will try one of those three-point field goals. And how about us telling you like it is?
I like Coach Pavola's strategy against this extended 1-3-1. They're leaving, Hawley's leaving some holes in the corners, and that's twice now Peters has found the opening down in the quarter and drained the three.
And it's now just a one-point ball game. Craig Samuelson says it's off a Hawley hand. It'll be New York Mills basketball with a chance to take the lead.
We'll see if Hawley adjusts and keeps track of Peters down in that corner. So far, they've been letting him sit there free.
Tipped, and Rob Cox intercepts. He's got a 2-on-1 with brother Ted. The foul comes on the floor before the shot. And Jason Schick says, I'll give up the foul on the floor right now because it's not going to be a shooting opportunity. So it'll be out of bounds for the Nuggets.
Yeah, it's a good fall by Jason Schick.
If you had two fouls or something, it might be a little different situation, but the slate was clean, so just his first foul of the game.
You bet. Nice heads-up play.
We're now under the 4-minute mark of the second quarter. It's 23-22 Hawley. Nuggets surveying that matchup zone. Now Ted Cox will take the three. That misses. J.J. Weller is there for the rebound. Good active defense by the Eagles. Pass out of control, off the hands of Mike Peters, off the backboard, and now Nate Tweeten will bring it back the other way. Tweeten a little shake inside. Nice idea looking for Ted Cox on the baseline cut, but it's batted out of bounds.
Yeah, you can see Nate Tweeten likes to attack offensively, whether it's to get himself a shot or to set somebody else up for an easy one.
The State Bank of Hawley scoreboard has a 23-22 Hawley lead, with the second one is almost halfway through and coming up at halftime. We hope you'll be able to stay with us for the Wells Fargo halftime report, a visit with Ron and Michelle Oren that you will not want to miss. 3:26 to play in the first half, and Steve, it seems like that the New York Mills Eagles have kind of weathered the early storm by Hawley, but they've had a few chances now to take the lead. They haven't been able to do it.
No, they're hanging in there real well, though, and this is, I think this one's going to go to the wire, like you said earlier.
And if you were a New York Mills fan, your worry was that the team might come out a little tense at this level. They have not been here in a while. Of course, New York Mills has that great girls basketball tradition. And Coach Pavola says we're trying to create that kind of enthusiasm with our boys program as well, and he's certainly done a great job so far. Rob Cox will try the three, and that caroms away, fought for inside. Cox crashes, follows his own miss. An athletic putback, and he's fouled. What a nice job following the play.
Real nice job. Rob Cox came all the way from three-point land to gather in that rebound and then took it strong back up.
See Rob Cox just fighting hard for that rebound and creating the contact. An interesting story, Rob Cox. Was a great story before he ever set foot on the basketball court. Steve Pashy says that he almost died at birth. He had a lung disorder, and the family didn't know if he was going to make it. Steve Pashy says that the whole Cox family found it a real moving experience and something that's really brought them together now as they can talk about those stories that the kids, of course, don't remember when they're young. He makes 1 of 2 from the free throw line. It's 24-22 Hawley. And the Nuggets gain possession again.
You can bet Coach Pashy said something about the Peters boy in the corner, because as soon as he got the ball, there were 2 Hawley defenders on him.
This is Tweeten now looking for an opportunity. Fires for three, off balance. That won't go. Andy Cox charging hard. So is Jess Stout, keeping it alive. Finally, it comes inside to number 40, Brett Busby just checked into the game. He can't get it to fall. The ball goes out of bounds, and New York Mills has the basketball.
Kind of surprising, all the rebounding we talked about New York Mills and their rebounding ability. Hawley seems to be getting the best of them on the offensive boards the last couple of trips.
So we've been stuck in this low 20s range here for a while. The defense has gotten better and the offense has suffered a little bit. 2:25 to play in the second quarter. It's 24-22 Hawley. Lob pass too long for J.J. Weller. Intercepted by Tweeten, and Stout will push it to Rob Cox. Tweeten finds Stout. Nice baseline pass. Looked like he was going to go in, but it didn't. Now Busby charges, gets a rebound, and a foul will be called on J.J. Weller. Well, Chuck Everett was very demonstrative in his call. There was no uncertainty there, but J.J. Weller didn't see where the infraction was, and Dave Pavlo, of course, agrees with him.
Here we see it on the rebound, and I think what he's calling there is that push off to gain advantage with his left arm, and I know he's left-handed too. Didn't look like much, but the strength of J.J. Weller probably did mean much.
Jess Stout now to the line, looking for his second free throw of the night, averaging 9 points and 3 rebounds a game. Second one up and good. He now has 4, and that lead creeping back ever so slowly for Hawley. It's a 3-point margin now, 25-22. We're under 2 minutes to play in the second quarter. Jason Schick tries a 3. Weller is there for the rebound, and he's fouled. That'll be Jess Stout's first foul of the night.
Weller's wide body allows him to just camp underneath there, and you can't push him away or block him out. He's too strong.
16 foul of the half. Next one will send the Eagles to the line. This one results in the inbounds play, and Ted Cox will check in now for Jess Stout, who's not real happy about the way things have gone over the last minute or so.
Hawley's done a real nice job the last couple trips defensively. Let's see if they keep it up here.
Corey Peters from the wing tries to get inside. Nice defense there by Ted Cox. Jason Schick will try another 3. That one's short. Bounces around, but Corey Parkinen collects it. Nate Tweeten deflects, or changes a shot, I should say, and it falls harmlessly away, and now Nate Tweeten will bring it into the front court. Andy Cox inside. Nice drop step for 2.
And there's a name we haven't said for a while, Andy Cox. He hasn't got the ball offensively for the last 5-6 trips, and they needed to get him back involved.
The lead is now 5. Akers tries to answer. That won't fall, but Corey Peters collects it. And a foul will be called that will send Corey Peters to the line. I believe Nate Tweeten will be cited for the infraction. 17 foul first on Tweeten.
New York Mills seem to have lost their rhythm a little bit offensively. They're taking some shots they're probably not really sure of, or with a defender in their face. Maybe they need to work the ball around and reverse it and try the other side.
First free throw up and good by Peters. I was going to mention a minute ago, Andy Cox now with 12 first half points after his last inside bucket. 1:09 to play now in the half. It's 27-23 Hawley. Second free throw is up and good by Corey Peters, and he now has 7 points. And it's 27-24, back to a 3-point lead. Rob Cox for 3, that's good. His first field goal of the night is a 3-point bomb, and now it's a 6-point lead with under a minute to play.
You can see there's a little confusion on New York Mills. I know I've said it before, but they're just a little uneasy on offense right now. I think they need to move the ball around, get it inside, kick it back out, look for some openings.
Mills is trying those skip passes through that 1-3-1 zone, but it's awfully tough because you've got brothers Ted and Rob Cox with those long arms and that athletic ability. They get to a lot of basketballs and knock them away. Mills now content to play for the final shot as Schick surveys the field. And he'll make his move now with 10 seconds to play. Aker for the long 3. That bounces away badly. And the Nuggets have a quick opportunity, but it's stolen away. Layup is up and good by Joey Hagel. Wow, what a big turn of events. It looked like Hawley was going to have a chance to push it to an 8-point lead. As it is, it'll go to halftime, 30-26 in favor of the Hawley Nuggets.
That was a real nice break for the Norman County, or the New York Mills Eagles. Could have been down 6, but 23. Joey Hagel picks up the loose ball and makes a nice drive in for the score.
Great time for his first 2 points of the game. Let's send it over to Eric Widman, who's live with Steve Pashy.
Thank you, Steve. Coach, you guys are up by 4 right now. What do you talk to the team about?
Well, I think the middle of the zone is the area that we need to attack. We got to get the ball inside there some. I think that's basically what it comes down to. If we can attack the zone effectively and be patient, and we need to, we need to limit those second shots again. I think we're playing pretty solid. We're playing a quality team, so I think we just need to be consistent with what we do. Stay patient. Try not to thread any passes or anything like that. Just play consistent. It's going to be a dogfight. I think we're in pretty good position foul trouble-wise. We got a couple with 2, but I think we'll be able to weather that. And just got to go out and do the things we talked about when the ball game started. Play a solid second half.
All right, Coach. Thank you very much. Good luck in the second half. Thank you. We'll be back with more on the Wells Fargo halftime report.
Brothers, it's the Section 6A basketball tournament. That's the case for Ron and Michelle Oren, and we're going to talk to these two about the way that they met, and it's a great story. We've been dying to share it with you all night. Michelle, can you tell me, first of all, in your own words, how did you meet this guy over here?
Well, I was here watching Barnesville 2 years ago, and we bumped into each other before the game, and he actually, his roommate dated my room in college, so I kind of knew who he was, and we said hi to each other, and then I went back to the seats and sat next to his sister, and then he came out, and I don't know what happened then.
But you were cheering for Barnesville at the time, who was taking on his team now. Did you tell him about that later?
Oh, yeah. Yep, I sure did.
So he knew. And Ron, of course, we know from coaching the game earlier tonight, his Waban team pulling off a big win. And Ron, tell me how it was from your point of view, though. How did you get to know this girl, and how did you take it from there?
Well, that's about what, what she said is about true. I was getting nervous before our big game that year, and I think it was in the same game as we played tonight, 2 years ago against Dermot County West, and I seen her walk by, and I thought, hey, that's a pretty good-looking woman there, and I thought, God, she just looked familiar, and I felt kind of bad because when I did bump into her, she remembered my name, and I couldn't remember hers, so I don't know if she knows that part of it, but that's what happened.
And who says romance is dead? Your first date was to a basketball game.
Yes,
Tell us about that.
We, about a week later, I called her up a little bit after that, and about a week later, we come in and watch the, after we'd gotten beat out, we come and watch that out-state section final, the first round of state over here at Concordia together, so it's kind of a basketball family now.
Well, I wish we had lots more time, you two. Thanks for taking the time. We'll finish this story by telling you that they met during the Section 6A tournament. They got married at tournament time just 9 days ago. Congratulations. Best of luck not only in basketball, but with your marriage, too. May you have a long and happy one. Ron and Michelle Oren, thanks so much. Enjoying their story here on the Wells Fargo Halftime Report. We'll be back.
What did you talk to the team about at halftime? What do you got to do now?
Well, we got to stop Cox down low. He's doing a wonderful job, and also hit a few shots off that 1-3-1 zone of theirs.
All right, Coach, good luck. Thank you very much. Steve, back to you guys.
Thanks very much, Eric. Dave Pavlin, nice enough to take the time to visit with us here quick as we're ready to begin the third quarter of play. Chuck Everett making sure that everybody's in the right spot. And now the Nuggets will go from our right to left, looking to improve on a 4-point halftime lead. Thanks for making us part of your Monday night. Nice to have you with us for the Section 6A West semifinals. The winner of tonight's game will meet Waban on Thursday night for the right to play for the section championship. Nate Tweeten can't get the reverse layup to go, and now steps back, shoots a long two. That won't fall, but Andy Cox is active.
That's a nice start for the Hawley Nuggets, working hard on the boards. Cox comes up with 2.
His 15th points of the night. 13 in the first half, and those 2 to start the second frame, and Cox out hustles 2 New York Mills Eagles for the defensive rebound. Tweeten works inside, contact with Parkinen, nothing called. And New York Mills will bring it back the other way. Jason Schick running the offense for Dave Pavla's team.
Be interesting to see what they schemed up for this 1-3-1 zone, which has been very effective for Hawley.
Peters to the baseline, a little off-balance floater, that's no good. Weller comes down with the rebound, but is stripped away by Jess Stout. A jump ball will be called. And it will remain New York Mills basketball. Hawley, the defending champions in this section. Jason Schick, a little short, but follows his miss and gets a better look.
Real nice job by Schick attacking the zone, and he got his own.
Andy Cox tries to get something going. That won't fall. Ted Cox is there for the rebound, and he's fouled. It'll go on Corey Peters. No, excuse me, Mike Peters.
New York Mills sets up in that 2-3 zone.
Nate Tweeten tries to make something happen. The double team comes at the elbow. Rob Cox open for a minute, but decides against putting up the three. Ted Cox tries to get it into his brother Andy, but knocked away nicely by the tandem of Peters and Weller. And now Corey Peters will sprint up the left side. That's too strong, doesn't draw iron at all. Nate Tweeten thought about pushing it up. Goes the other way to Andy Cox. But the Nuggets will go to the half-court set.
Now we got New York Mills back in a man-to-man, and I kind of agree with this. I think they should. No, now they're in a 2-3. They're really switching it up.
It must be a good one if causes us to think a little bit. Tweeten finds some room, goes to his right, waits, but travels. One of the statistics that jumped out from the first half, both teams taking good care of the basketball. New York Mills committing just 6 turnovers, Hawley just 5. Both coaches talked that would be important.
You bet. That always is important in basketball to take care, especially in tournaments, to take care of the ball. The glaring stat that was different between the two teams in the first half would be the field goal percentage.
Tweeten inside, waits, hesitates, double pump, and the pretty floater goes.
You see some athleticism there displayed by Nate Tweeten. A real nice fake pass in the air and then went back to his shot.
Nate Tweeten now in double digits with 11 points. It's 34-28 Hawley with 5:14 to play in the third. Schick eyes up a three. Ted Cox, good defense, but a better shot.
You're right, Ted Cox was there for the defense, but Schick put it right down, right in his eye.
And now it's a 3-point Hawley lead with 4:52 to play in the third. Loud pass, Tweeten, tough pass. Just Stout makes something good happen of it. The 6-foot senior guard wandering down amongst the trees and collected a little goodie. And it's once again a 5-point Hawley lead. Schick looking for another three. That won't go. Tweeten is there for the board. Schick intercepts. Doesn't have numbers, doesn't care. And doesn't miss.
Schick's proven to be a spark plug here for New York Mills, attacking and playing on both ends of the court. Nice left-handed layup, protecting the ball.
7 second-half points. Andy Cox tries to wheel inside. The Corey Peters defense is there. A foul is called on Corey Peters, and that's his third. And now Dave Pavla's got a decision to make.
And I think Dave Pavla has enough depth to protect his players that are in foul trouble. But we see Peters stays in.
Comes to a certain time of the year when you just got to ask your guys to play smart. If they're a good enough player, they got to stay out there, I guess.
Exactly.
And now Jason Schick whistled for the foul. His second. It's the third team foul on New York Mills here in the second half. Non-shooting foul, so Rob Cox will trigger it inbounds. Stout cuts inside, goes up against the J.J. Weller defense, nothing doing. But Stout gets a look in the corner. The high arcing three is good. Just Stout now with 5 second-half points. It's 39-33, and the Eagles have had their chances to get close, but every time the Nuggets turn them away. And with 3:50 to play, we're going to take a break. The State Bank of Hawley scoreboard says 39-33 Nuggets.
Boy, does Burns Motor and Hawley have the trucks. Burns has a great selection of new 2001 Ford Super Cabs, and Burns has the Ford Super Cruise you're looking for. Burns Motor has been awarded the Blue Oval certificate from Ford in recognition of a high level of customer satisfaction. Great Ford trucks and customer satisfaction are what you're waiting for.
Hawley has a 6-point lead, 39-33 with 3 minutes 50 seconds to go in the third quarter. Coming up at the conclusion of tonight's game, we'll be naming a Wells Fargo player of the game. And Eric Widman was busy inside the New York Mills huddle. Let's see if he's got something to report. Eric, let's send it over to you.
You see if Dave Pavla is not happy with the way his team is running offense. He wants them to slow it down, work the ball around the perimeter, then go inside and try and score and keep it to a low-scoring game. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Eric. Rob Cox gives it to Jess Stout, and the Nuggets will set up their first possession. After the timeout, Nate Tweeten, little fadeaway. That won't go. Fighting hard, though, Andy Cox and Jess Stout. But Corey Parkinen fights equally hard and comes away with the board. Corey Peters tries to push the action. Stout knocked the ball away. Peters thought there was a foul. The official says no, but it will remain New York Mills basketball. Corey Parkinen looks for something from 12 feet, and that falls.
I think the coach likes to see that, as we heard Eric say. They want to push the ball inside, and why not with their height?
Ball batted out of bounds. The official's not able to agree on who exactly it was that had the last hand on it, so it will be ruled a jump ball. Alternate possession gives it back to Hawley. 39-35. We've been kind of stuck in this 2 to 6 point range for a while. New York Mills hanging tough, but Hawley with an answer each time it's really needed. Now Tweeten wheels inside, finds Rob Cox. He'll go up, and that's going to be the fourth on Corey Peters.
Coach Paschy has to appreciate that versatility that Nate Tweeten shows us. He gets the ball from so many different angles and so many different spots on the floor, and he always seems to come up doing something right with it.
Well, he's built like a brick outhouse. You look at him and think he's got to be a post player, but he plays a lot on the high part of that offensive set.
You bet, and he's very savvy with the ball. You saw him get the ball at the free throw line, and he drove and made some fakes in the air and found Rob Cox underneath. A real nice feed.
In fact, Steve Paschy says if there's one knock on Nate as a passer, he tries to make the perfect, pretty pass too often, and sometimes just that basic old chest pass or bounce pass would do.
Exactly.
But he can't be upset with his production tonight. 11 points, and Hawley's got a 39-35 lead. Rob Cox leaves a couple at the line, and now Mills has a chance to cut it to 2, possibly 1. Schick looks for the 15-footer. That won't go, but rebound is put up and in by Joey Hagel. Well, Joey Hagel has made the most of his opportunities here tonight. Got in just for a little bit at the end of the first half, made a nice play off a turnover for 2, and checked into the ball game and quickly gets into the act.
Here he finds a little gap in the defense, no one boxing him out, and that happens a lot with his own defense.
Missed the free throw. Now a long 3 by Akers. Whoa, that's an NBA triple right there. And now it's 40-39. Boy, I can't even see that far, and he stuck that jumper. He had no hesitation either. Now Tweeten tries to answer with a long 2, and he does.
I think the Hawley defenders were surprised he took it that far out.
One of the longest 3s you'll ever see, and one of the longest 2s that you could put in. Tweeten just with a foot on the line. It's back to a 41-40 game. .157 to play, 41-40 in favor of Hawley. Tipped up, Parkinen inside, left-handed layup is good. And the lead goes back in New York Mills' favor, 42-41. Inside is Andy Cox. And all of a sudden, the offensive horses are getting let out of the stable. Nice. 43-42 Hawley.
You bet, nice body control by Andy Cox on the drive. Remember, Coach Pavla wants the ball to go inside. We'll see if his players do that. Hawley switched into a man-to-man defense on us here.
Schick finds a little room, doesn't need much, puts up the quick trigger. Ted Cox is there, 3 men on him, and the Nuggets are going to have numbers if they hurry. But Nate Tweeden decides to hold it up. Now finds Andy Cox. Nice pass, nice conversion. And that 3-point lead that the Nuggets had through most of the third quarter is back with 51 seconds to play in the quarter.
There we see that tricking pass of Nate Tweeten again. He had 13, Matt Akers going one way, and then he thread the needle with the pass the other way. Nice pass by Nate Tweeten.
I just can't get over that three that Akers stuck a couple of minutes ago. That was lengthy.
That was a sophomore sticking that three.
Ball batted out of bounds. It'll stay in New York Mills basketball. Mike Aker, Dave Pavla tells us, is a gym rat. Just always has a basketball in his hand. And when there were some tough injuries in the middle part of the season, he stepped forward and had some great games for New York Mills. And now he says, I've got no hesitations at all about bringing him off the bench.
We see Hawley in that man. It would really be to New York Mills' advantage to stuff the ball inside against a man-to-man defense.
Nice defensive rotation. Andy Cox in the open floor goes in for the layup. Now Andy Cox has 8 second-half points. Cox now with 21 on the night. With 9 seconds to play in the third, Hawley's got a 5-point lead. Schick dances inside. Mike Peters baseline going up strong, but just out ties him up.
It's the second or third time tonight we've seen Jeff Stout get his hands in there against a bigger player and get the hands on the ball. He's a feisty defender.
On that last sequence, a nice defensive play by Rob Cox. We need to point that out. He got beat off the dribble, but as one of the post players helped out, he rotated and covered the guy that the post player left and made the nice interception, led to the bucket. Corey Parkinen inside. That won't go. Crashing hard as Akers bounces away, and at the end of three. It's a 47-42 Hawley lead, and Steve Paschy is pleased with the way his team closed the third quarter. We've got 8 minutes to play. Someone's going to play Wobbin on Thursday night. We'll find out who it is in the final 8 minutes. Let's take a look back, Steve Moultrie, at our Grove Studio keys to the game. How have the Hawley Nuggets done?
I think they've done a nice job on limiting the offensive rebounds, and they are attacking that zone defense, especially Nate Tweeten has been attacking it. They have valued the basketball. I haven't seen many turnovers by either team, so they're doing a good job of not turning the ball over. As far as New York Mills, they haven't really shot the ball well outside, but Hawley's defense, they have been guarding the perimeter real well. They've done a decent job on rebounding, and as we've said, both teams have limited their turnovers.
Hawley with a 47-42 lead, just one team foul here in the second half. We'll see if that plays a part in the final storyline here. 4 team fouls on New York Mills. Dave Pavla said, the concern I have about going against Hawley is they are so experienced at tournament time, especially in this gymnasium. Mike Peters, nice play to save it in bounds. Back to brother Corey.
I think you need to be brothers to find each other on that one.
Excuse me, Steve Moultrie. Absolutely. Knocks down a nice 12-footer. His first points of the second half. Just out. Nice pass inside. Looking for Brett Busby. That won't fall. The rebound corralled by Joey Hagel. And the Eagles can tie with a 3. Pull within 1 with a 2. Stepping inside, Hagel's shot, that won't fall, crashes in, follows his miss, and now a scrum ensues. Jump ball, possession will stay with New York Mills.
Maybe not the best shot by Joey Hagel, but he has the right idea. They need to attack this zone. They can't play catch on the perimeter. They need to attack and make something happen.
Corey Peters, the long inbounds pass, Akers corrals it, and he's in range. You better be careful right about now. Corey Peters working on that 2-3 zone. Nate Tweeten gets a hand in the way. Tries to collect it. All of a sudden, the Nuggets have a 3-on-1. Cox takes the 10-footer and makes it. Andy Cox averaging 17 a game. Had 21 against Lake Park Audubon Saturday. He's now got 23 tonight. Steve Paschy says if Andy Cox doesn't play well, we don't win. He's played well, and they've got a chance to win. 6:11 to play. It's a 5-point lead for Hawley. Corey Peters no good, but corralling the rebound is Joey Hagel, swatted away out of bounds, and it will remain New York Mills basketball. Hagel wanted a foul. Nothing doing, but they will keep possession.
I see Coach Paschy on the sideline putting his arms out horizontally, urging his zone defenders to make themselves big. Anytime you're playing a zone, you want to make yourselves big and cover those passing lanes with those long arms.
Mersu, nice bounce pass into Weller, turns into the lane. Left-hander no good. Corey Peters keeps it alive. Mike Peters with the left hand. That won't fall. Weller gets another chance. Bounces out of bounds. It'll stay Mills basketball. And the Eagles crashing the offensive glass hard.
They're not doing a lot for their field goal percentage, but they're padding those offensive rebound stats.
Corey Peters to Mike Peters. And all that work finally pays off. Mike Peters on the board. 49-46 with 5:36 to play. Peters, skip pass from Tweeten to Ted Cox. That won't go. Tweeten gets it back. And a foul is called. That'll go on Mersu. That'll be 4 on Kurt Mersu. So now the Eagles have 2 players, Mersu and Corey Peters, both with 4 team fouls. Or 4 personal fouls, excuse me. That would change the game a little bit, wouldn't it? Inside, Andy Cox wheels, off balance, awkward looking shot. Awkward looking connection with the rim of the backboard. And once again, how many times have we said it? Mills down 3, a chance to pull within 2 or 1. Nice backdoor pass. Corey Peters looking for Mike Peters, but Ted Cox got a hand in there to knock it out of bounds, and a foul will be called.
Those are the types of things New York Mills needs to do against the zone. Find the gaps, find the skip passes or the weak side passes like that.
Timeout on the floor with 5:08 to play. It's 49-46 in favor of the Hawley Nuggets, looking to repeat as Section 6A champions. We'll take a timeout on the floor. It's with 5:08 left to play in the 4th quarter. The State Bank of Hawley scoreboard has it a 3-point. A big game out of Andy Cox if they were to win, and he's delivered so far, Steve Molstreet.
Andy Cox has had a nice night tonight. It's kind of a quiet bunch of scoring he's done tonight, but there you see him finish off the fast break. Got 23 points, and we still got 5 minutes to go. He shows his value to his team tonight.
Eric Widman stuck his ear in the Hawley huddle. Eric, what do you have?
Steve Pesci is not happy with the way his guys are boxing out, so they're going to make a little switch and go from zone defense to a little man-to-man. We'll see if it works. Back to you guys.
Thanks for the update, Eric. Let's see what happens. Corey Peters working on the Jeff Stout defense. Stout plays good defense, and at least through one sequence, Steve Molstreet was a good change.
You bet it was. I like that call. You know, if your team gets complacent in one type of defense or one type of offense, switch it up. Get the kids thinking.
Sometimes those little changes can really impact the other team who comes out, has in mind what exactly it is they want to do, and all of a sudden they look and the defense that they're seeing isn't the defense they planned for in the huddle.
You hit it right on the nose. Pavela was probably preparing his team for the zone, which they've seen for quite a while now, and now Hawley comes out in the man. So, real good point, Steve.
The Eagles turn it over. It'll give it back to Hawley now. You get the feeling if Hawley could go on a little 6-0 run or something, they could really put some distance between themselves and get themselves in great position for the final 4 minutes of play.
The Eagles just don't let that happen. They keep coming back and coming back. There's a nice rebound.
Just Stout looking for the off-balance left-handed layup. Rims around, no good. Mike Peters snaps down the board. And here we are again. 4 minutes to play. It's a 3-point Hawley lead. Mills again with a chance to tie or cut it to 1. Corey Peters gets some room. Had the shot he wanted. It wouldn't fall. J.J. Weller gets the rebound. They're going to count the basket. Wow, I thought he was on the floor when the whistle blew, but I must have missed that one.
Here we see it again. There's Weller. He just hangs out in that lane. He's opportunistic, and you can see the strength. He takes Jeff Stout and just powers right through him and up and in.
I don't mind that they call that, mind you. It's nice to see because he's in the act of shooting, but so often when a player is on the ground, they will not give him credit for the basket. Well, Weller goes 1 of 2 from, misses the free throw, gets the 2, but misses the free throw attempt. It's 49-48, and it is a 1-point lead. Ball knocked out of bounds. It'll stay Hawley basketball.
I think we see there what you were talking about, what Coach Pesci says about Nate Tweeten earlier, about the fancy passes, and they get a little fancy at times, and there we saw one. I think he probably wants them to play just fundamental basketball down this last 4 minutes.
Nate Tweeden says it's been a long year. You know, you got to humor yourself after a while.
Exactly.
Rob Cox looking for the three, and that's a big three for Rob Cox. His second three of the night, his first points of the second half, excuse me. 52-48 now, and Hawley once again with an answer when Mills gets close. Just out, had control, knocked away. Corey Peters goes to the floor. Some crazy kind of rumble ensues. Weller dishes to Parkkinen. I have no idea what that was, but it wasn't textbook basketball, Steve.
No, it wasn't, but you know what? These guys, both teams, all 10 guys out there are giving it their all, and we had bodies diving all over the place, so it's good to see.
Well, the foul will go on Ted Cox, and Corey Parkkinen goes to the line, and he'll shoot a pair. First free throw up and good.
He does have a nice touch from the free throw line.
He's had a good night. He's got 10 points. He's averaging 5, make it 11 points now on the night. You need those unexpected contributors, and Corey Parkkinen has brought a great game here to the Copper Fieldhouse. Tweeten inside, goes to the lane. Position is there by Jason Schick, and the charge is called.
I like that call. I think Tweeten was a little out of control, and the New York Mills defender had some excellent position. You notice there, New York Mills, and we've been waiting for it most of the game, switches to a man-to-man defense.
And now, with exactly 3 minutes to play, a 2-point ball game, and you know we're going to have a barn burner. This one can't help but be anything but a close game. Parkkinen inside, looking for more. Tumbles out of bounds, and the rebound tumbles into Nate Tweeten's hands. In transition, spins, loses the handle, and it's off Nate Tweeten's hand.
Nate Tweeten, who's played a real nice game tonight, hasn't had the last couple trips down the court, hasn't had the best of luck there.
Corey Peters slapped away by Jess Stout. Ball goes out of bounds, it will stay White basketball. And Mike Peters now checks in and will give Corey Parkkinen a rest. .52-50 inside, 2:35 to play. Mike Peters from 15, no, rebound, batted away. Rob Cox is there. Stout thinks about pushing the tempo, decides to set it up. Tweeten at the top, bounce pass, tough pass inside. Boy, with those Eagles players so active on that baseline, it's tough to get those passes in there. A foul is called on Mike Peters.
Andy Cox had some pretty good position there.
The next foul on New York Mills will send Hawley to the line in the bonus. Tweeten inside, hangs, that won't go. Weller just rips it away from Andy Cox.
There's a strong rebound.
Somebody is down. I think that's Nate Tweeten. Might have got an elbow. Got cracked in the mouth, and if you can't read lips, please don't. No, and Nate Tweeten wants a piece of somebody. He thinks it was intentional.
Whether it was intentional or not, Nate Tweeten has to keep his cool here. It's not going to do him or his team any good to get riled up.
And Steve Paschy is as ornery as we've seen him. He wants a timeout to get some composure. And he is irate as well. Steve Paschy saw what he thought was a cheap shot. He's gesturing that a punch was thrown. Let's see if we can pick something up.
See it.
Tweeten looking at the far left corner of your screen. Oh, there's from somebody. Corey Peters got in a little shot with the left hand, it looks like.
From this angle, it doesn't really look intentional, but that's a tough angle to tell.
Well, we're going to take a break while everybody collects their wits. We've got 2:05 to play. A hotly contested game in more ways than one. It's 52-50 Hawley.
Why so glum, my gym-shorted chum? I'll never make the track team. Say yes I can with Hardee's roast beef sandwich.
Yes, I can. Now I'm feeling fine.
Oven roasted and carved to order, served to you in record time.
Now do it for the biscuit.
Yes, I can.
Hardee's original roast beef is back. Bigger, oven roasted and carved to order.
Come on home.
Stop by the new Silver Lake Co-op in Hawley. They have hot stuffed pizza and smash hit subs in their food court. All the convenient goodies for on the go. Plus videos from Take-Two Video Express. The Silver Lake Co-op in Hawley is your Cub Cadet equipment dealer. You can pump gas 24 hours a day, and they have bulk fuel delivery. You can find it all at the Silver Lake Co-op, just off Highway 10, Hawley, Minnesota.
Let's take another look at it, Steve. It's hard to tell from this angle, but there definitely was some contact.
Definitely some contact, and I think you're right. I think it was a cheap shot there.
Yeah, that's a nasty elbow. Young Mr. Peters got away with one. And Steve Paschy now is making an interesting move. He knows that Nate Tweeten can be hot-tempered when things don't go his way. He's going to sit him down and let Brett Busby do some work here for a while. But don't be surprised to see the young man back in the game soon. And as I say that, Steve, you point out that he's ready to check in the ball game. Chad Peters looks for the three. That's no good. Rebound goes to Ted Cox. Andy Cox now in the front court. 2-on-2. Will he push it? Well, he'll spin to the glass. That won't fall. Crashing in is Busby. Weller is there for the rebound. We've now got 1:40 to play. It's a 2-point Hawley lead. Waiting in the wings, the Wobbin Bombers for Thursday night subsection final. Steve Moultrie, this is what you ran all those extra wind sprints for. This is what you did all that summer shooting in the gym for.
You bet. New York Mills needs to make this a quality possession.
Inside, Weller trying to maneuver around, not much room, and a foul is called on Andy Cox.
Anytime you get it into your horse in the middle, I call that a quality possession, and he draws the fall to boot.
And so now the Weller free throw machine heads to the line, 77% on the year. There you see the replay, Andy Cox making a little bit of contact. And when J.J. Weller leaves the line, it could be a tie ball game, but it will not. And he's left a few points at the line tonight as J.J. Weller.
Surprising, too, for his season average of 77%.
1 out of 5 on the night. Nice job to our graphics crew illustrating the point. A 77% free throw shooter, just a 20% free throw shooter, though, tonight. But he'll get one more chance, and that won't go. But he crashes hard after the board. Now a scramble ensues. Mike Peters inside. Bodies flying, arms and legs tumbling everywhere. Tweeten tries to get the pass up court. Ted Cox to Andy Cox along the baseline for two. Well, that wasn't the way Steve Paschy drew it up, but it was effective. Now Andy Cox with 25, but Schick answers with a three. And it's now a 1-point game with 47 seconds to play.
I think Coach Paschy wants a timeout, maybe. I don't know. No, maybe not.
Maybe in this case, with your team having all that experience, maybe you let them play it out on a team like New York Mills that doesn't.
Exactly, because then if Paschy takes a timeout, New York Mills gets a timeout also. But I don't think that's what Coach Paschy wanted. With a 1-point lead and 30 seconds left, I think you want to hold on to the ball.
Well, Rob Cox had an alley open, but some good defense by Mills, and Rob Cox's free throw ended up hitting the underside of the standard. And now Mills with the basketball, down by 1, will get a chance to talk it over with 24 seconds to play. Let's see if we can listen in as the teams and coaches start to talk strategy for the final 24. First, of course, the job of deciding what to talk to the team about. Got to have all your troops, at least your coach, make sure you're on the same page.
I'm there, Stace.
4 heads are better than 1. It's important to bounce ideas off your assistant coaches.
Let's see what Dave Popple has to say.
Hey, first of all, you stack it up and get the ball inside. Okay, stack it up and get the ball in. And set it up.
If you secure the board and you get in a bind, you still have time up. You still have time up. Let's deny out front. Let's play. Let's play. Let's play big on the ball. Play big on the ball and deny shift. See if we can get a turnover here. Okay, post. Make sure we give good backside if they try to clear the backside and lob. Okay, but be big on the inbounder. Be conscious of them coming right back to Peters if he triggers. Okay? All right, hey, guys, all year we do shell defense one time.
Go.
Right? One time.
Go.
All
Okay,
pressure
let's go.
talk. Defense. All pressure talk. Okay.
Okay? Good shots, hit the board. If we miss the shot, you fall right away.
Well, you heard Steve Pesci saying just what we talked about a minute ago. It all comes down to this. The scoreboard says it all. 54-53 Hawley with 24 seconds to play. Now the question is, will New York Mills hold for the final shot? Will they milk the clock or will they take it right away?
I think being down, they need to attack. Take anything they can get as soon as they can get it.
Doesn't look like that's the way they're going. Jason Schick sets it up. We're now at 10 seconds to play. Corey Peters. Now down to Weller, inside, goes up, it's blocked. Gets it back, goes up again, no good. Scramble for the rebound, Mike Peters swatted away again to the floor. The time expires, and the Hawley Nuggets hold on. 54-53 the final. Oh, Steve, New York Mills had their chances. It just wouldn't go.
Well, they did. They had their chances, and they were crashing the boards hard and tipping. But, you know, it's real tough to put a 2-foot shot in when you got Hawley arms waving all over the place. Real good defense by Hawley.
Eric Widman is making his way over to Steve Pesci. And I think we're blocked by the swarm of fans. Okay, Eric, take it away.
Proud of my kids defensively. They dug in there. We got to stop. Give New York Mills credit. They played a tremendous game. They really hurt us on the offensive boards. We knew that would be a key for us. They're just so physical. You got to give them a lot of credit. And we're just thankful. We got an opportunity to play Thursday. Talked about wanting to be able to practice tomorrow. And now we get to go enjoy, watch our girls play in the state tournament. We wish them luck. And we're going to have 2 good days of practice to see if we can get ready for Wobbin.
Huge game for Andy Cox, over 20 points. He obviously was the difference in this game.
He's just, I can't say enough about the kid. He's a great leader. I'm so proud of all my kids. Just could have gone either way, but their heart, I think, just showed at the end.
You guys now get ready for Wobbin. What do you got to do?
Well, Kevin Hanks is tremendous, and if he plays like that, we got to say a lot of prayers. But I think we'll just have to work hard defensively on him and Peralt and Wander, and hope we can force some of the other kids to make some plays. And, we're just going to come out and play hard. We'll prepare, and we've got a tremendous opponent, so we're excited about it.
All right, congratulations, Phil. Thank you. Steve and Steve, back to you guys. What a game.
You said it all, Eric Widman. New York Mills with several chances, Steve.
Exactly. You see Weller up, and you know, you get a hand on the ball by Andy Cox. He's very active underneath. Gets a hand in there, and then I think he gets a third hand here on this one. Right there. So Andy Cox is proven to be a monster inside when his team needs it the most. Excellent job defensively by Andy Cox.
Well, you appreciate the officials letting the teams play down the stretch, but clearly the New York Mills fans are watching this at home saying J.J. Weller was fouled at least once during that possession, and you don't know that you can argue too much with them. So it'll be a tough pill to swallow for Dave Pavola's team. They certainly played hard, and we wondered if they'd show some nerves and some jitters and kind of get the deer in the headlights look, but they didn't tonight. They played awfully hard and had a great chance to win it at the end.
Well, they stuck with it, and they kept chiseling away. Hawley would go up by 6, 7, or 8, and New York Mills would keep in it, keep their wits about them. They did a nice job. They definitely didn't show any signs of nervousness.
Steve Pesci told us this week if we're going to win, Andy Cox has to have a big game. He is our focal point on offense and our emotional leader, and he certainly lived up to the label tonight. 25 points, double digits in rebounds as well. Andy Cox is our Wells Fargo player of the game. 54-53. Steve, go ahead.
I think we can look forward to a real fun matchup and a rematch of one of the playoff games from last year that was televised, Hawley Wobbin on Thursday.
A couple of teams that are no stranger to the spotlight. you know they're going to give us a dandy on Thursday night. It will be Hawley and Waubun in the 6A West Championship game. We hope to see you on Thursday night. For Steve Molstreet and Eric Widman and our executive producer Stacy Anderson, I'm Steve Hallstrom, thanking you on behalf of our staff and entire technical crew for making us a part of your Monday night. Our final score, Hawley 54, New York Mills 53. We'll see you Thursday night. Good night, everyone.